Congressman, it's good to see you here. Let's start with the campaign. This is a four-person race. Tell us what internal polling shows about where you stand right now.
Well, Jason, great to be with you. And look, the first thing about politics is the only poll that matters is on Election Day. So we're going around the state doing everything we need to do to try to make sure people understand why I'm running for Attorney General, while I'm also burning both ends of the candle while being a member of Congress and trying to finish that strong. I haven't missed a vote. Don't intend to miss a vote. I have a job to do representing Texas 21, but polling looks very good. Both independent polls, our internal polls, they show us pushing 50, and we need 50, obviously, to avoid a runoff. Every poll I've seen has me well north of 40, and most of my opponents are in single digits and occasionally in the low double digits at 10 to 12 to 15 points. So we feel good about our standing, but we're not taking it for granted. We're going around the state trying to earn every vote we can.
Do you expect this could, avoid a runoff altogether?
It's certainly possible. I mean, again, our numbers show us pushing 50, and we're doing everything we can to go around the state and make the case that I'm the guy that's ready for the job, prepared for the job, former prosecutor, former first assistant attorney general. I've been there. I know how to set up the office. I've done it before. I've got a proven track record as a conservative, and I've been in the courtroom, and I've been prosecuting people, putting people in jail. And, I think that resume has been speaking to the people of Texas, and the response has been very favorable. So, again, we're going to put our foot down on the gas. We want to save people money. And there's another important piece to this, and you know it well as a close political observer. In 2020, I had to run a general election campaign against Wendy Davis, who had a very high profile. It was a $30 million race, the third most expensive race in the country. And I had to run it when I was representing a good chunk of Austin, Texas, in an R+3 or 4 district. And we won with 7 points. We outperformed the president. We did a great job. And I would take that to the battlefield when we head into November in the general elections.
Congressman, if elected as Attorney General, what are your top 2 priorities, day one, if elected?
Well, look, there's a number of things that are critically important, and I want to continue the great legacy. Again, I served in the Office of Attorney General. It was my first job in law school, actually. I was a law clerk in the Prosecutor's Assistance Division and the Habeas Division, what we call capital litigation then. I have a heart for that office and the people in that office. So on day one, the first thing I'd be doing is to make sure that we've got the strongest office for the biggest law firm in Texas to be able to carry out the duties of the Office of Attorney General. But the issues that the people that I'm talking to and the people that I represent, they care about making sure Texas is ready to secure its own border, no matter what happens, no matter what a future president looks like. We cannot have what we saw under the Biden-Mayorkas regime. So you need a strong Attorney General who's ready to litigate that stuff in court, but be a voice for making sure we do what we need to do to have a secure border and enforce the laws. Secondly, you got to make sure you're getting criminals off the streets and working with DAs that want to work with us, but also pushing the DAs who are being stubborn, who are, frankly, purposely allowing a lot of criminals to be on the streets, endangering the people of this state, whether it's in Austin and San Antonio, which I'm more familiar with in terms of my representation, but also Dallas and Houston and all the people I'm talking to. And I'm going to break your rule of 2, and I'm going to at least add a third, which is a major issue that I'm hearing about across the state of Texas and that I care about is the Islamification of Texas and the extent to which we've got Epic City and growing relationships between organizations in this state and dangerous terrorist organizations. CARE notably is one, and that's why I've been introducing legislation to deal with these matters in D.C. There are a number of other important issues, but those are the main ones.
And looking back over General Paxton's tenure here, do you think he's made any mistakes that you would want to correct if you were elected?
Well, I look at it from the perspective of we've had a run here in Texas where we've had great leadership that has attracted people to want to move to the state, growing economy, generally strong state with respect to the rule of law. But we're getting the tension right now, right, between some who don't want to follow the rule of law. We're seeing this unfold in Minneapolis. We're seeing it unfold in places across the country. So, look, I want to be able to build on that legacy. Look, there's always things you might do a little bit differently. That'd be true whether it's Ken Paxton, whether it was Attorney General Abbott or Attorney General Cornyn, right? I mean, there are going to be things you're going to do differently. But we've got a strong legacy of law enforcement, of child support collection, of doing the job you're supposed to do to defend the state of Texas. And I want to carry that forward. And there's other issues we didn't get into before, like election integrity, which I'm leading in Washington. I'm the lead author of the SAVE Act, which is one of the core pieces of legislation we're trying to do to make sure only citizens vote in our elections. And again, across the state of Texas, this is what people want. They want a strong, sovereign, secure state, and that's the legacy I want to carry forward.
Congressman, we have seen one of your competitors, Mays Middleton, attack your conservative credentials, specifically about things you said about Donald Trump after January 6th, saying Trump's actions were, quote, clearly impeachable, and your comments also called him reckless that day. Curious now that you're running for Attorney General, looking for the Republican primary vote, do you regret those comments now?
Look, I always stand for what I believe in defending the Constitution and defending the rule of law, and I'm a strong supporter of President Trump. And in fact, if you look at the data, I've got the strongest record in Texas. So I think it's somewhat laughable that David Mays Middleton, who's funding these super PAC ads, would be taking shots at my conservative track record when it's fairly unassailable. And but you know what? I think I'd be doing that too if I was spending $10 million in polling the single digits.
I want to talk about the government shutdown for a moment here. Democrats said they want funding for Homeland Security stripped out and looked at separately. After what we've seen in Minnesota, does the budget need another look at Homeland Security?
No. The Homeland Security Department should be fully funded. That's what we passed last week. We did it, by the way, in a bipartisan deal that we kind of came together to put together the appropriations package together. There were things in that Homeland bill that I did not support. I could go through the list of them, but we didn't have enough protections on sanctuary cities. We didn't have enough protections in ensuring unaccompanied alien children are protected from being in the homes of dangerous individuals in our country. We didn't have protections for the American citizens under CISA, making sure they're being protected from censorship and making sure their data is protected. There's a lot of things I would have done differently, but you got to come together and you got to pull it together on a bipartisan or partisan basis, depending on what you're doing. And in this case, it was a bipartisan package that passed off the floor of the House. Yeah. Senate should take it up and pass it. If Senate Democrats want to risk the funding of government and risk the funding of our men and women in uniform, if they want to risk the funding of Transportation Safety Authority, TSA, and our flights being able to be carried out, all because they want to grandstand over Homeland Security, then that's on them. But we stand with law enforcement and trying to do their job. There are 1.5 million orders of removal by judges right now for people in this country. So the question here is, are Democrats saying those 1.5 million people shouldn't be removed? Are they saying that the dangerous individuals in Minnesota that were raping individuals, that are accused of sodomy, that had murdered individuals, that those individuals shouldn't be removed from our streets? Do they want to pick up the phone and call Alexis Nungare and say, hey, we don't really care about what happened to your daughter Jocelyn, or call Laken Riley's family or Rachel Marin's family or any of the other people that have been harmed by people who are here illegally? Or do they want to say, look, we're going to lower the temperature? And by the way, my friend Tom Homan's going to Minneapolis. He's going to do a great job. He's lowering the temperature, but we've got to do our job. And local law enforcement needs to work with the feds to do their job, and threatening funding is not the way to do it.
Let me ask about Minneapolis here and the tactics we've all seen from those trained federal agents, stopping people at random, asking for papers, pointing guns, pushing protesters. Even Stephen Miller said they may not have been following protocol in the Alex Preddy shooting. Do you think these federal agents in Minnesota need more training?
I think it's a leadership question. Again, that's why Tom Homan has been put on the ground. Tom is the former head of ICE. He was, in fact, given awarded a medal by Barack Obama over a decade ago for his strong service to this country and doing things the right way. There is a right way to do things, but you have to be all in agreement and united on the mission, which is to ensure that dangerous individuals are being removed from our streets. And ICE, for the lion's share of what they do every single day, Border Patrol every single day, they're out there working hard to remove dangerous actors and to remove people, again, who are under orders of removal. There is a lot to this, and when you had the disaster that was the Biden-Mayorkas regime that put millions of people on our streets, including people affiliated with dangerous gangs, you've got to do the job to reverse that and to remove those individuals. I'm confident in Tom Homan. I'm confident in the direction they're trying to send in terms of getting the job done in Minneapolis.
For years, at least 4 years, we watched Democrats ignore the chaos that happened on the border during Joe Biden's term, and it happened to the Democrats' own political peril. Do you think the federal agents are creating chaos in Minnesota that could backfire also on Republicans?
Well, I think what's going to backfire is the chaos being sowed by the Democrat leadership in Minnesota and around the country. Like, when you are refusing to work with law enforcement, you have to answer for that. And what we saw here, we had the governor go out and say ICE is, quote, not law enforcement. Go get in their face, right? They basically are lighting the match to start the fire for the tensions that you're seeing unfold in Minneapolis. This is not terribly different than what we saw unfold in 2020. Look, there is a right way to do things. And by the way, I have been vocal in saying that there are things we need to do to change and saying that we need to, these guys that were saying, oh, well, that guy made himself a target by having a weapon on him. Like, look, I'm a Texan. I don't think that's true at all. I think what created the problem was his stepping in and interfering with law enforcement carrying out its duty. He wasn't sitting on the side going, hey, I'm protesting. He inserted himself into a law enforcement situation. Then what transformed after that was a direct result of those events. And so my view on this is pretty simple. We need to bring the temperature down. We need to enforce the law. We need to remove people. And the Democrats in Minneapolis and Minnesota need to stop making ICE and Border Patrol the target and work with us to remove bad actors. And then we can all get back to doing our job. By the way, that's what's happening in virtually every other place in the country right now.
The president removed the Border Patrol commander-at-large, the chief up there, Gregory Bovino, pulled him out of Minnesota. Do you agree with that decision?
Well, Rodney Scott is the head of Border Patrol. He's a good friend of mine. I think he's been re-engaged, and I think that's the right play. I think Rodney should be directly engaged with the people in the Border Patrol unit, the Border Patrol individuals that are assigned to deal with the situation in Minneapolis. But to a certain degree, right, this has all been responsive to the environment that was created in Minneapolis. Most of these Border Patrol folks, they want to be doing their Border Patrol work down on the border. Look, we've got a lot of folks in Texas that were deployed to Minnesota. We'd like to get them back, right? We just wanted to go back to normal. We want normal operations. ICE, when they're on the ground, they work with local law enforcement. Local law enforcement turns over dangerous actors, turns over people with orders of removal. ICE works with them, and ICE then is able to remove the individuals. That's the way it works when you follow the law. That's what we're looking for.
Do you think ICE and federal agents and Border Patrol have overstepped here in Minnesota? Being that far away, you're just talking about they need to be back on the border with Mexico, where so many crossings have happened in previous years.
Well, again, when you create the environment that was created in Minneapolis, okay, and that was created, I believe, directly in the consequence of Governor Walz and of the mayor of Minneapolis and the people involved in the leadership in that state, then the government had to go respond to be able to deal with the situation. But we've got to continue to enforce the law. And look, we can have all the after-action reviews. I mean, look, I'm a limited government conservative. I don't ask for the federal government to be put in every, state in the union. What I do ask is that where the federal government has a constitutional duty to enforce the border and enforce the laws that we put in place, then they need to be able to do that in conjunction with state and local law enforcement. In almost every jurisdiction in the country, they get that. 287G agreements and other ways in which the state and locals work with the feds to get the job done. But when you've got leadership that is directly contradicting that, then the federal government has to figure out how to manage the fact they have a duty to remove bad actors. Let's remember, these bad actors who are in Minneapolis, if ICE doesn't remove them, they can come to Texas, right? This is not something where we have a border, notwithstanding the jokes every politician makes about building a wall on our northern border. Texas is a state in this union, and we have people who can move in the free flow of commerce across our lines. So we have a duty as a federal government to protect the people of the country, and I stand behind the president in that regard.
Congressman, one last question on this issue here. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem claimed that Alex Preddy attacked officers and was brandishing a gun. All the videos, as you've seen and we've all seen, contradict that. Do you still have confidence in Secretary Noem?
Yeah, I have full confidence in the administration and confidence in the president. Obviously, he's demonstrated leadership by putting Tom Homan on the ground, who has great experience, as I mentioned before, former head of ICE. And I'm confident that he'll be able to work with the secretary, work with the entire Department of Homeland Security to restore order on the ground. I mean, this is a critically important moment, and we've got to get it done the right way. But even just now, as I'm looking at traffic on X, and I'm seeing what the Minneapolis mayor is saying, he's already pushing back on the president, saying it's not their job to enforce federal immigration laws. The fact of the matter is that it is their job to work with federal immigration enforcement to guarantee that we're getting bad actors off of the street. So I hope that continued conversation occurs and that we're able to get the job done.
Congressman, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.